Most people don't know that Jonathan Roumie once built a massive wooden cross in his childhood backyard and regularly reenacted the crucifixion, complete with nails and thorns, while his bewildered neighbors watched from their windows. This wasn't mere childhood theatrics. It was the early manifestation of a soul destined to carry an extraordinary burden. What drives a man to surrender his last $20 to God when he has no guarantee of tomorrow's meal? And how does complete financial ruin become the gateway to portraying the most influential figure in human history? The answer lies in understanding that authentic faith often emerges from absolute desperation, not comfortable certainty. When every earthly security crumbles, the human spirit either breaks or discovers what it was truly designed to lean upon. Jonathan discovered the latter during those dark months in his cramped Chicago apartment, where empty cupboards and overdue bills created the perfect conditions for genuine surrender. If you enjoy content that helps you grow spiritually, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join our community for more inspiration. Let's get started. Born to an Egyptian father and Irish mother, Jonathan Roumie never imagined his multicultural Catholic upbringing would prepare him to challenge the most powerful woman in American media. His father, raised in Cairo's bustling streets, had instilled in him an understanding of faith that transcended cultural boundaries. His Irish mother contributed a fierce devotion to Christ that couldn't be shaken by circumstances or popular opinion. By March 2019, Jonathan's acting career had reached its lowest point. Voice work for video games and occasional television appearances barely covered his modest rent. His bank account held exactly $23 when he received an unexpected phone call that would test everything he claimed to believe. The voice belonged to Marcus Chen, Oprah's head producer, offering him a spot on what they called a spiritual enlightenment special, featuring various faith leaders and contemporary spiritual teachers. Jonathan had heard whispers about Oprah's ventures into New Age spirituality, the expensive courses promising instant transformation, the repackaged ancient wisdom sold as revolutionary insights, the way sacred traditions became profitable products under her golden touch. His initial instinct was to decline politely and retreat to his theology books. But during his evening prayers, something stirred within his spirit. This wasn't about advancing his career or gaining exposure for the chosen. This felt like a divine appointment, a moment when God was positioning him exactly where he needed to be, regardless of the personal cost. The apartment around him told the story of his convictions. Bare walls, except for his Lebanese grandmother's hand-carved crucifix, stacks of worn theological texts, and letters from viewers whose lives had been transformed by authentic faith rather than manufactured spirituality. 3 weeks before that fateful phone call, Oprah Winfrey had just concluded another record-breaking quarter for her spiritual empire. Her latest venture, the Divine Abundance Masterclass, had generated $12 million in revenue within 48 hours of its launch. The program promised participants they could unlock universal prosperity consciousness through a combination of visualization techniques, positive affirmations, and what she called spiritual alignment protocols. We all face moments when life feels overwhelming and finding genuine answers seems impossible. In those moments, a deeper understanding and authentic guidance can make all the difference. That's exactly what The Secret of Jesus Apparitions offers, a path toward clarity and peace through the revelations of Christ himself. If you're seeking hope and true direction, this ebook could be the lifeline you need. And the best part? It's available right now as a free gift for you to download in the first pinned comment. Don't miss out. This could be the turning point in your life's journey. Standing in her opulent Montecito mansion, surrounded by crystal healing stations and imported Tibetan singing bowls, Oprah reviewed the numbers with her business manager, Patricia Kellerman. The figures were staggering. Her partnership with Eckhart Tolle alone had produced over $300 million through online courses, retreat packages, and exclusive content subscriptions. Her collaboration with Marianne Williamson on A Course in Miracles seminars was pulling in eight-figure annual revenues. The formula was intoxicating in its simplicity. Take ancient spiritual concepts, repackage them with contemporary psychology, add a dash of quantum physics terminology, and present it all through Oprah's magnetic personality. Her audience, predominantly middle-aged women seeking meaning in their comfortable but spiritually empty lives, devoured every offering with religious fervor. Helena Morrison, her chief content strategist, had perfected the art of spiritual marketing. Each course followed the same blueprint. Identify universal human longings for purpose and significance, promise transformation without sacrifice, and create urgency through limited-time pricing. The Miracle Mindset Intensive cost $4,000 per person and consistently sold out within hours of announcement. What made Oprah's spiritual marketplace particularly potent was its sophisticated theological packaging. She wasn't selling atheism or materialism, she was selling spirituality itself, but stripped of inconvenient doctrines about sin, judgment, or exclusive truth claims. Jesus became a consciousness teacher rather than the Son of God. Prayer transformed into intention setting. Salvation evolved into self-actualization. Her monthly Enlightenment Circle gatherings at the Beverly Hills Four Seasons attracted Hollywood's elite spiritual seekers. Celebrities paid $50,000 annually for access to these exclusive sessions where Oprah personally guided them through divine alignment exercises. The waiting list extended 18 months, with participants including A-list actors, Fortune 500 executives, and influential politicians. Dr. Benjamin Fletcher, her resident spiritual advisor and former New Age pastor, had developed what they called the Universal Truth Framework. This carefully crafted philosophy allowed people to maintain their religious identities while embracing contradictory beliefs. Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, and indigenous spirituality were presented as different flavors of the same cosmic ice cream. The upcoming Spiritual Enlightenment Special represented Oprah's boldest move yet, a primetime showcase designed to legitimize New Age spirituality in mainstream American culture. She had handpicked each guest specifically to demonstrate that authentic spirituality transcended traditional religious boundaries. The stage was set for what her producers confidently predicted would become television's most influential spiritual event, reaching an estimated 47 million viewers across multiple platforms and international broadcasts. The morning of the taping, Harpo Studios buzzed with an energy that felt more like a spiritual conference than a television production. Jonathan arrived at 6 a.m. to find the parking lot filled with luxury vehicles, Tesla Model S sedans, BMW X7s, and Mercedes G-Wagons, each belonging to the carefully curated roster of spiritual entrepreneurs who would share the stage. Inside the opulent green room, the atmosphere resembled a high-end networking event. Dr. Rajesh Patel discussed his upcoming Cosmic Consciousness Certification program with yoga instructor Sierra Blackwood, while best-selling author Cameron Sterling pitched his Manifestation Mastery Blueprint to anyone within earshot. The air crackled with calculated ambition, disguised as enlightenment. Jonathan found himself studying these fellow guests with growing unease. Each carried professionally designed marketing materials, glossy brochures advertising weekend retreats priced at $3,000, mobile apps promising instant spiritual transformation, and branded merchandise that turned ancient wisdom into commodity products. Their conversations centered not on serving others, but on maximizing conversion rates and expanding subscriber bases. As we witness the collision between authentic faith and commercialized spirituality, remember that true transformation doesn't come with a price tag. The free ebook waiting in the first pinned comment could change your perspective forever, but only a few copies remain available. Sierra approached Jonathan with practiced enthusiasm, her arms laden with promotional materials. "You absolutely must check out my new program," she gushed, pressing a gold-embossed flyer into his hands. "7 Sacred Steps to Abundance Activation. I'm pre-launching exclusively to Oprah's audience today. The early bird investment is only $2,700. When Jonathan politely explained he wasn't there to promote anything, Sierra's expression shifted from confusion to concern. "But honey, this is Oprah. This is your moment to scale your ministry and reach millions. My business coach says you're literally leaving money on the table." The production team's pre-interview briefing reinforced this commercial emphasis. Assistant producer Rachel Zimmerman handed each guest a detailed guide titled "Maximizing Your Oprah Opportunity," complete with suggested talking points and strategic product placement techniques. "Remember," she announced, "Oprah's audience has incredible purchasing power. They bought over 2 million copies of our last book club selection within 72 hours. Jonathan watched from a corner chair as fellow guests rehearsed their carefully crafted sales pitches. Cameron Sterling practiced his authentic vulnerability routine, a choreographed emotional moment designed to create connection before revealing his exclusive course offering. The stark contrast became undeniable when wardrobe coordinator Lisa Chen approached Jonathan about his attire. While other guests wore designer outfits provided by the studio, flowing scarves, meditation beads, and earth-toned blazers that screamed spiritual authority. Jonathan sat quietly in his father's 20-year-old navy jacket, reading from his worn leather Bible. "Are you sure you don't want to change?" Lisa asked gently. Jonathan smiled and shook his head, his fingers tracing the faded gold lettering on his Bible's cover. When Jonathan's segment began, Oprah's demeanor radiated the calculated warmth that had made her America's most trusted media personality. The studio audience of 1,200 people settled into expectant silence as she introduced the man who has touched millions of hearts through his portrayal of Jesus in The Chosen. "Jonathan, you've reached such a beautiful level of spiritual consciousness through your work," Oprah began, her voice carrying that practiced intimacy. "Tell us about the mindfulness practices and inner journey techniques that have elevated your awareness to this divine frequency." Jonathan recognized immediately the New Age framework she was attempting to impose. Every word had been carefully chosen: consciousness, practices, techniques, frequency, language designed to transform his Christian faith into something more palatable for her spiritually eclectic audience. "Oprah, I appreciate the question, but I think there might be some confusion," Jonathan replied gently. "I'm not interested in spiritual practices or consciousness levels. I'm interested in Jesus Christ, who said, 'I am the way, the truth, and the life.'" The shift in the room was palpable. Several audience members shifted uncomfortably as Jonathan's words cut through the inclusive spiritual atmosphere. This wasn't the universal, non-threatening spirituality they had expected. Oprah's media training kicked in instantly. "That's beautiful, Jonathan. And of course, there are many paths to the divine, many ways to connect with that universal love and wisdom that you call Jesus." Her words were surgical, designed to dilute his exclusive truth claim into just another option in the spiritual marketplace. But Jonathan had spent years studying theology. He recognized the subtle manipulation. "Actually, Oprah, I have to respectfully disagree," Jesus said, "No one comes to the Father except through me." That's not one path among many. That's the only path. In moments like these, when truth cuts through deception, we're reminded that genuine spiritual guidance is invaluable. Don't let this opportunity slip away. The free ebook in our pinned comment is running low, and once it's gone, it's gone. The audience fell completely silent. Oprah's expression hardened almost imperceptibly, the warmth in her eyes replaced by something sharper. She had built a billion-dollar empire on the premise that all spiritual paths led to the same destination, and Jonathan had just challenged the foundation of her entire worldview. "Jonathan, surely you don't mean to suggest that billions of good spiritual people around the world are wrong about their beliefs?" Her tone remained controlled, but there was an edge now. Isn't that kind of exclusive thinking exactly what's wrong with organized religion? The question was loaded, designed to make Jonathan appear narrow-minded and judgmental before her diverse audience. "Oprah, I would never call anyone a bad person because of their beliefs," he responded with genuine compassion. "But truth isn't determined by sincerity, it's determined by reality. If my house is on fire and someone sincerely believes water won't put it out, their sincerity doesn't change the fact that I need water to save my home." Oprah's composure began to crack as the theological battle intensified. Her next attack was swift and personal, designed to expose Jonathan as a hypocrite and regain control of the narrative that was slipping from her grasp. "Jonathan, let's be honest about something," she said, leaning forward with predatory instinct. "You've made millions of dollars playing Jesus in a television show. Isn't it a little hypocritical to criticize others for monetizing spirituality when you've built your entire career on it?" The audience perked up, sensing blood in the water. But Oprah had just made a fatal mistake. She had attacked Jonathan's integrity without knowing the truth about his life. Jonathan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, worn from handling. "Oprah, you're absolutely right to question that," he said calmly. "In fact, I brought my financial statements for exactly this reason." He held up the paper toward the camera. "This is my bank statement from last month. My balance is $1,847. I give away everything except what I need to survive." The audience gasped audibly, and Oprah's face went pale. This wasn't in her research, wasn't part of the narrative she had prepared to destroy him with. "I live in the same apartment I've had for 8 years, drive a 15-year-old Honda and eat most of my meals at home because that's all I can afford," Jonathan continued. "You see, Oprah, when Jesus called his disciples, he told them to take nothing for the journey, no money, no extra clothes, no security. He said that anyone who wants to follow him must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow him." His voice grew more passionate. "That doesn't mean everyone has to be poor, but it does mean that our treasure should be in heaven, not in building earthly empires." The words hit Oprah like physical blows, each one exposing the vast difference between her prosperity gospel and the radical teachings of Christ. Her composure was cracking now, her voice rising with barely controlled anger. "That's easy to say when you're getting all the attention and adoration for playing the most famous figure in history," she snapped. "Don't lecture me about humility when you're literally making a living pretending to be God." The outburst was unprecedented. Oprah Winfrey, the queen of media composure, was losing control on her own show. The audience sat in stunned silence as they watched their beloved host reveal a side of herself they had never seen. But Jonathan remained completely calm, as if he had been expecting this moment all along. Sometimes the most powerful encounters happen when we least expect them. If you're feeling drawn to discover more about authentic spiritual experiences, Check the pinned comment now. We're down to our final copies, and this window won't stay open much longer. Oprah, I'm not pretending to be God, Jonathan said quietly. I'm pretending to be a man who claimed to be God and was willing to die for that claim. There's a difference. He paused, letting the words sink in. And the attention and adoration you mentioned. Most of it comes from people who are desperate for hope, for meaning, for someone to tell them they're loved unconditionally. The same people who come to your shows looking for the same thing. The parallel was devastating, and Jonathan could see the recognition dawning in Oprah's eyes. She had built her empire on people's spiritual hunger, but she had been feeding them expensive substitutes instead of the bread of life. The tension in the studio was suffocating as Oprah realized she was losing control of her own show. Her audience was listening to Jonathan with the kind of attention usually reserved for her, hanging on his words as he spoke about faith with an authenticity they rarely encountered. "You know what I think, Jonathan?" she said, her voice dripping with venom. "I think you're a religious fanatic who's using people's faith to make yourself feel important. I think you're dangerous." The attack was desperate now, a wounded predator lashing out at the threat to her territory. But Jonathan's response would be the moment that changed everything. Jonathan stood up slowly, and the entire studio seemed to hold its breath. "Oprah, 3 days ago, I got a call from a little boy named Michael in Detroit. He's 7 years old and he's dying of leukemia." His voice was steady but filled with emotion. "His mother told me that he watches The Chosen every day in his hospital bed, and that it's the only thing that gives him peace. She asked if I could talk to him just for a few minutes. If these insights resonate with you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Your super thanks support helps us create more content like this. Join our community and stay connected." The audience was completely silent now, sensing that something powerful was about to happen. Even Oprah sat frozen, her anger replaced by a growing sense of dread. "Michael asked me if Jesus really loves little boys who are sick, if heaven is real, if his mommy and daddy will be okay when he dies." Jonathan continued, his voice breaking slightly. "I told him, yes, Jesus loves him more than he can imagine, that heaven is more beautiful than any place he could dream of, and that his parents will see him again someday." Tears were starting to flow in the audience now, and even some of the camera operators were visibly moved. Jonathan looked directly at Oprah. "Then Michael asked me something that broke my heart. He asked if the lady on TV who talks about God really knows Jesus, or if she's just pretending because she seemed sad when she smiled." The words hit Oprah like a sledgehammer, and for the first time in the interview, she was completely speechless.